Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and happy new year. Welcome into the week 18 edition Sunday Sideline Report here on the Sports Insanity Network YouTube channel. Old Ops Guy. Mike back with Old Ops Guy. I know at your age the memory goes a little quicker, but this season felt like it flew by.
Yeah. Once week 5 came, the rest of the season just like zips through. And, we get used to that. One thing I would like to note is all our friends are watching from Top Notch and Hat Trick Breaks. I was promising a star today, but I was only to get a replica of the kid from Stranger Things. So I hope you guys understand that. And we'll go on from there. I was not able to get him in early, so we got his stand in for you today.
Oh man, I can't believe it. So this
It
is
was
the
so
end.
good. It was so good.
I'm not even talking Stranger Things because I know
No, I was
nothing
talking
about
about the
Stranger.
football season. It was such a good season. I
It
mean,
has been a good season.
for the Cowboys, look, I'll make it blunt because we're really not going to talk the Cowboy Giant game today. There is no benefit in it.
You know what? No, let's save Cowboy and Dolphin talk for the end since we both know.
All right, that's fine.
Let's be to be fair. The only person whose team's going somewhere is Patchy, but he can only see half of it anyway.
And then he might be buried in fish guts while he's doing it.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on there.
He'd be doing that new slip and slide.
So it guys, legitimately, it all comes down to today. We have divisions on the line. We have home field advantage on the line. We have everything on the line today. But week 18 technically started yesterday. We had two massive games on Saturday. One to decide the number one seed in the NFC West and home field advantage. The other one was to help determine the fate of the National Football League Conference Southern Division. And that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with the Panthers and the Bucks. The Panthers scenario was if they won, they win the South. Now, I'm a fool because I went into this game thinking if the Bucks won, they would also win the South. I thought it was
No.
weird. But now all of a sudden, the Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints game does matter. So here's the scenario. The Bucks beat the Panthers. We'll dive into the game in a minute. But here's the scenario for today. If the Falcons beat the Saints, the Panthers are in the playoffs. Let me repeat that. If the Falcons beat the Saints, the Panthers are in. If the Saints beat the Falcons, the Bucks are in. If there is a tie, nobody is in, and the Detroit Lions get to sneak into the playoffs. I have no idea if that last part is true, guys.
When it comes down to scenarios at the last part, Mike can see it and be able to repeat it. I just hear Dan Patrick doing the basketball finals with the three-man sack race on alternate weekends to decide it. So it's just so many possibilities that we're going to go through, and the games we're going to talk on, like Mike's going into, are going to be the games that actually mean something and that have implications for playoffs. Yes, we'll briefly mention other teams such as R2, but we'll save that for the end.
Yeah. So let's just go over what happened yesterday with Bucks Panthers. The Bucks come away with a 16-14 victory. Baker threw for over 200 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. His weapon of choice yesterday was Cade Otton, who had 7 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown. Bryce Young in the loss threw for 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And Tet McMillan had 4 receptions for 85 yards. The Bucks defense was the story of this game. They didn't allow the Panthers to get their running game going, and they didn't allow the big chunk plays until the end of the game. And that was an important factor because that's really what killed the Bucks the first meeting. So give the
Yep.
Bucks credit on making some adjustments, even being down 2 corners, which they were. They were down their top 2 corners yesterday. But I also thought I saw something, Mark, because I think I go into Panther games going, you know what? I don't think Bryce Young is that great. I don't think he's a great quarterback. And then I watched him yesterday and go, okay, I see some of it. I need him to put it together before I believe this guy's a franchise altering quarterback. But then I also go and go, you know what? He doesn't have the greatest weapons in the world. So I think if I'm Carolina this offseason, whenever that comes, whether that's they the Saints win and they're eliminated, or they get eliminated next week, I think the number one goal for the Carolina Panthers this offseason has to be we need more weapons for Bryce Young because we need to figure out what Bryce Young is before we pay him that big second contract.
Right. If anything, Bryce Young has grown up during his time in the NFL over these first 4 years. He has proven beyond that he can play in the NFL. I think Mike hit it solidly when saying you got to get this guy more weapons. Hats off to Tate McMillan. What a rookie season he had, and I can see this young McMillan hook up a lot in the next few years. Rico Dowdle needed 125 yards to get his $500,000 bonus. He rushed 7 times for 10 yards. And then there was a lot of controversy. Oh, they weren't giving him a chance. No, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense showed up.
Yep.
And the Panthers, at that point, were down 10 points already in the first quarter. So the run has to become second. And that's why Dowdle didn't get the opportunities. It wasn't because they would have had to pay him if he made it. No. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense showed up. Now that Atlanta Saint game, as Mike said, is gonna be a heavily watched game today.
Yeah, if you're in Carolina, you're a big Falcon fan. If you're in Tampa Bay, you're a big Saints fan. So, just to flip side it to the Bucks, the defense was great.
Yeah.
Baker played well enough, but it feels like this team. The reason they lost 7 of 8 going into that game yesterday was they were very sloppy. And at points yesterday, they were sloppy. Penalties, saw some of that. And then all 3 phases were not in sync. They had a blocked field goal yesterday. They had that bust late in the game on that big Tet McMillan catch that set up the second Carolina touchdown. They had some drops. Give Tampa Bay credit for finding a way because that's what they needed to do. But they've not solved the issues that have plagued them over the past couple of weeks, and that might cost them here a spot in the playoffs.
And this Tampa Bay team, I mean, it's led by Baker. In so many words, is too old. I hate to say it like that. You look at the careers of some of these players, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, just to pick out two. Their time
Levante
in Mike,
David,
yeah, and Ibuka's just getting his first year in. He has good leadership to be able to help him build. But let's face it, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are no longer a one and a two anymore. They're both injury prone. They're good, maybe a solid threes, maybe a high end two. They need to make a decision at the end of this season, which is very short, which is could happen tonight for them. And they got to get younger for Baker. If they stick with this old set, Baker's never going to go anywhere.
well, I think this. I think they talked a little bit about this during the broadcast. Was Mike Evans potentially that being his last home game? Um, Talked about the retirement factor. Godwin's, had some injuries over the years, but I think you hit a nail on the head when you talk about Emeka Ibuka. Emeka Ibuka came out of Ohio State, and early in the year he was setting the world on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of felt like throughout the season he kind of just drifted. And I don't know if that was in part because Baker's hurt, and we could tell Baker's hurt.
Okay.
If it was because Evans and Godwin were missing time and they were just like, okay, we're going to double that guy. Or is it just, hey, it's your first year in the NFL, you're going to hit a little bit of a rookie ball? And it just felt like when he became a non factor, that started a little bit of this decline too. So we'll see what happens there. Again, when we go over the scenarios, Bucks fans are rooting for the Saints. Panthers fans will root for the Falcons. Someone's winning the NFC South with a record of 8-9. And we'll host a playoff game, mind you. The nightcap of yesterday's doubleheader featured two of the best. The Seattle Seahawks defeat the San Francisco 49ers by a score of 13-3, meaning the National Football Conference playoffs will be going through Seattle. Something a lot of people did not want to hear.
And they're gonna hear it very nice and loud too. Because if you all remember the Russell Wilson playoff years, that stadium got its nickname for a reason. The loudest stadium in football.
The 12th man will show up.
Oh, yes.
Sam Darnold was 20 of 26 for 198 yards. Kenneth Walker had 97 yards rushing. JSN 6 catches, 84 yards. The only Seahawks touchdown was a 27-yard scamper by Zach Charbonnet. For the Niners, Brock Purdy, who'd been on a roll. I needed this game from him last week, not this week. 19 of 27 for 127 yards and a pick. McCaffrey got nothing going, eight carries, 23 yards. And Jawan Jennings had 4 catches for 35 yards. Again, story of the game, Seahawks defense. We said with the Bucks, and same thing can be said for the Seahawks. And listen, you take away Christian McCaffrey, you take a lot of what the Niners like to do away.
Well, unfortunately for the Niners, once, like you said, McCaffrey was done, you got to look at what this team had out on the field, going up against such a determined Seattle team. You took Purdy out, and not Purdy, sorry, you took McCaffrey out of the game. No offense to San Francisco 49ers, who made it to the playoffs. There's not a real name catching the ball. There's no Ayuk, there's no Debo. The reliability comes to George Kittle as he had 5 receptions, and McCaffrey had 6. The rest of the receivers, except for Jawan Jennings with 4, had 3 or less. That's a problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, they didn't have Purcell last night. They also didn't have Trent Williams last night, which Kyle Shanahan said after the game, if they had played the game today instead of yesterday, they could have gone. Which, listen, I love Kyle Shanahan. I'm not buying that. I think you wanted to be proactive in resting those guys, which I have no problems with.
Oh, I don't either, but just, you know,
Listen,
it was some of the press conference bothered me. That's all.
but give the Seahawks a ton of credit. But because I wrote this in the preview for this game, check it out on the website, sportsnetwork.com. Sam Darnold had a chance, or has a chance, to rewrite what he did last year in Minnesota, where he had that phenomenal season. And then the last game of the year in Detroit was brutal. And then that playoff game against the Rams was not good at all. And it kind of threw away any goodwill he had. And that's probably part of the reason he's not the Viking quarterback today.
And that was the biggest mistake, not for Sam Darnold, but as for Mike just mentioned, an aforementioned team, the Minnesota Vikings cost themselves the playoffs by letting this man go to Seattle.
But and now he's got a chance to rewrite the history in the playoffs. He's gonna have no excuses. He's got an elite defense.
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna have home field advantage, and he's got offensive playmakers everywhere. JSN, the tight ends have played a big factor for him this year. By the way, he's got a former Super Bowl MVP in Cooper Kupp on the other side. And I think Cooper Kupp is going to be very big in the playoffs for the Seahawks.
You know, here we go, boys. Here we go.
You have the Joker me. Here we go. All right, so those were the games yesterday. Here are your clinching scenarios for today.
All right, here we go.
Start in the AFC. The Broncos have won the AFC West. The Patriots have won the East. And then the Jaguars, Bills, Texans, and Chargers are all in the playoffs. So let's start with those Denver Broncos. They can clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC, which means the only first round bye and home field advantage. They can get that with a win over the Chargers or losses by both the Patriots and the Jaguars. But the simplicity is Denver wins. You got to go through Mile High.
You're going to be home. There's no Justin Herbert. It will be Trey Lance today.
Yes, it'll be
I
Trey
hate that. I kind of feel I feel bad. I like Justin Herbert. I just feel every time he just gets so close, it gets taken away from him.
Well,
Um,
well, he's gonna play next week, so
well, yeah, but I'm just saying he's going in injured. He's not going in 100% healthy. That non-throwing hand is an issue.
yeah.
Um, this is going to be won by Denver cleanly, and it's not going to be a high routing number. They'll go out ahead big, probably by about 21 points. and then you'll start seeing the second set coming in the second half. It'll probably be something like a 21-24-10 game, advantage Denver.
Well, I need the Chargers to cover that 12 and a half. So um, the Patriots, they've already clinched the AFC East. They can clinch the 1 seed today with a win over the Dolphins, which is very likely to happen, and a Denver loss. So the Patriots can be the 1 seed with a win plus the Broncos losing. Okay. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the third team that can clinch the number 1 seed. They can also clinch the AFC South today. So let's start with the simple part. The Jaguars can win the AFC South with either a win or a Texans loss. And the
They have more
Texans have
chances
already
with the
announced
win.
Nico Collins will not play today. The Jaguars can get home field advantage
Right.
in the playoffs and the lone by and the number 1 seed with a win plus losses by Denver and New England. So we have 3 teams competing for the number 1 seed in the AFC today.
It's going to go to Denver.
The Houston Texans cannot get the number 1 seed. I apologize to that for that. But they can win the AFC South with a win over the Colts and a Jaguars loss against the Titans.
The Colts.
The Colts will be playing Riley Leonard today, not Philip Rivers.
Started off 7-1. Traded for Sauce Gardner. Went 1-7.
And we'll miss the
Ouch.
playoffs.
And will miss the playoffs. Is anybody else more stunned than I am?
Well, I think you got to take it a little bit with a grain of salt. What happens if Daniel Jones doesn't get hurt? You know, but yeah, they were starting to slip a little bit anyway. But yeah, tough year in Indianapolis.
Yep.
And then we got the big one tonight, and we're gonna dive into it in a little bit. Ravens Steelers, winner wins the AFC North, loser goes home. It's gonna be a street fight.
And look, by the way, you want to hear a lot about this game besides here. We will be live for this game tonight. Me, Patch, Dan, the pub master might drop in. Corpus Crispy down from the south might come up and say hi. This will be our final regular of the season live broadcast, so please tune in tonight around 8:30.
And now the NFC, there are no clinching scenarios. We just are waiting on seedings, which I believe the only decision is the Rams and Niners. I
Yeah.
think everyone else is locked. If the Rams win, they're the 5 seed. If they lose, they become the 6 seed, and the Niners become the 5. Outside of that, that is it. Those are your clinching scenarios for today. But I mean, this should be. It's an interesting week because we all know what happens the day after the last game of the year. They call it Black Monday, which means coaches get fired. We're going to dive into that in a minute. But I do want to talk about a couple of incentive things to watch today. One of them being Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is a sack away from breaking the all-time sacks record shared by Michael Strahan and TJ Watt. And Myles Garrett, if he wasn't on such a bad team, this would be such a bigger story, Mark. And it
Yeah,
deserves to be a bigger story.
I don't disagree with you at all. Hats off to Myles Garrett on an amazing season. Um, Here's the kick. I say he's gonna break it. And I say he's gonna break it the same way Michael did. Joe Burrow's gonna roll out. Miles Garrett is gonna walk up and he's gonna go, tag me, tag me. That's how fitting the way it should be. Now, does Miles Garrett want to go in on a simple? No. Miles Garrett wants to lay out somebody to get in there. He wants to make that sack memorable. So, either way, hats off to Miles Garrett, and I hope you get the record today.
Yeah, listen, I hope he gets it too. It'll be fun to watch. He called out the Steelers last week for not giving it to him. He said they wanted they cared more about me not getting the record than they did winning the game. And I got to tell you, I love that quote from Miles Garrett. But that's something to watch for today. Um, you know, also, listen, we got to watch the Rams a little bit. Matthew Stafford. Past couple of weeks, people are talking about he's slipping out of the MVP race. I don't know. I don't know. He
I
might
mean, it's
throw.
because of Stafford they are where they are.
I don't know. He might throw another 2 or 3 today against the Cardinals.
The question becomes Devontae Adams.
Oh, he's
That's
not
the
going.
But he's not going today. We know that much. I don't know if he'll even be available round one.
Oh, he'll. I think it depends on where they're going.
Exactly. And that's a scary thing, especially for Stafford, because Devontae Adams has played such a crucial role in making sure the Rams are where they are.
Well, listen, they showed him on Monday night running some routes, so maybe he's closer than we think,
Hmm.
and maybe it's just a precaution. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see. Also, Josh Allen, he's got his consecutive game streak. He's at like 121. Last game ever at Ralph Wilson Stadium for the Bills.
And we know Nate, we're very proud of you for going and shoveling so you can be there at the game today. Good job, Nate.
That guy grabbing a shovel, he's digging his own grave. Um, yeah, so those are some things to watch today. But on to what tomorrow is. And tomorrow is described as Black Monday. It is when coaches get canned after the season. We already
To
have
put it mildly.
we already have two openings. The Giants are open for business. The Tennessee Titans will be open for business. There's rumors heavily going about Pete Carroll will be a one and done in Vegas, whether that is
Mhm.
firing or he announces retirement. But the rumor
He
has
still wants to coach.
the rumor has it Tom Brady will have a very big say in who the next coach is. Which means it might be Kevin Burkhardt.
And I'll tell you something, make it quick. Burkhardt knows sports, so I wouldn't be surprised if he went out there and did something meaningful.
So we'll see what happens there. Um, how many others do you think will be open? How many other openings do you think we're gonna
I
have?
think you have. I think you're gonna have the availability of at least 2 to 3 other spots opening up, and I know that's a lot. And a lot of people are saying, "Well, where?" And I look all across, and I don't care if the coaches have years left. First base, obviously, I'm looking as Las Vegas, as Mike said, as a one and done with Pete Carroll. I have Pete Carroll auditioning for the New York Giants role, along with Mike McCarthy. I think both of them are going to be called in if Carroll does leave Las Vegas or says he's not, or is fired, whatever. I believe everything's going to go through the New York Giants. I think they're the ones who are the most desperate for a coach. So you're going to have some name. You have names out there. You threw in Las Vegas, and Mike might not believe me, but I'm telling you, if Pittsburgh loses, there'll be a spot open in Pittsburgh come next season.
Uh,
That's my wild card, so to speak.
no, I don't disagree with you. I think the loser of that game tonight, I think might lose their gig. I think that is a big. I think that's a good point. Um, my thing about Pittsburgh would be this: what's the whether it's Tomlin being the coach next year or it's someone else? What's the plan going forward? Because you brought it up with the Bucks. The Steelers are kind of in that same mold. And this is an older team. This is not a this is a team that invested money in a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers to go and try to help them. So we don't know what the quarterback situation looks like next year. Right now, you just promoted it as we don't even know the coaching situation. So now we're going into an off season next year with Pittsburgh, where potentially the head coach and the quarterback both are going to be question marks. So that's a really interesting dynamic. Same thing in
Eh,
Baltimore. Like there's Lamar rumors up the wazoo, which I still don't really understand. But Harbaugh, if the Ravens lose this game, you can only live up that Super Bowl for so long.
yep. And
Um,
as for coordinators, expect Matt Eberflus to be given the kick right after this game today against the Giants. And I don't
but
know if it's the right decision because the guy had everything taken away from him before the season ever started. So I
well,
don't know if it's the right answer, but after the season that the Dallas defense put up, there's nobody else you really can blame but him.
if you look back, he had a press conference this week, basically saying the same thing. Micah Parsons tweeted out the comment with laughing emojis, which I thought was really funny, but digress. But to go off your what you said, because I think you said three others, right?
Yeah,
So you got the Giants, you got the Titans, you got the Raiders. I'm gonna put the Cardinal job open for
yeah,
business too. Um,
yeah,
I put the Cardinals in as a team that I'm very disappointed in this year. I thought this was a year the Cardinals take a step forward, and now they kind of taken a step backwards. Um, Part of that is, Kyler getting hurt, but this is a team that's committed to Kyler. But I think Kyler's gone anyway after the year.
yes,
Might
yep,
as well get a coach in there too. Um, I'm curious about a couple of spots. I'm curious about Atlanta with Raheem Morris. That team is way too talented to not be in contention for a playoff spot. Um, there's talks about Mike McDaniel, and I'll get into that when I talk about the
yeah.
Dolphins in a little bit.
That was the one of the other spots. Yeah,
Um, and then I'm gonna just throw this out there, and I'm not throwing this out there to be mean or well, actually, Kevin Stefanski's out there, gonna be out, could be out there too. Zach
that
Taylor,
would
I
be
think,
interesting
yeah,
if I see his name up there.
Zach Taylor is a name I would throw out there. Although apparently Joe Burrow would like for him to stay, and I think you have to listen to Joe Burrow if you're the Bengals. Although he asked for an offensive line and you still haven't given it to him. But the name I want to throw out there is Sean McDermott. And I don't say this because I'm anti Buffalo or this or that. This has to be the year for the Bills that they get to the Super Bowl. There is no Patrick Mahomes stopping them. There's no Joe Burrow stopping them. There's potentially no Lamar Jackson stopping them. If Josh Allen can't get to a Super Bowl in this crop of a playoffs, then there's something wrong, and we need to visit what it is. Because you're not going to get a better opportunity than this if you're the Buffalo Bills.
And, you know, Josh Allen is hurt. And it's just something I want to throw out there completely out of the realm where we are. You've seen it the last couple of weeks. He
He's got this foot
cannot,
issue.
yeah, he cannot be forced out of the pocket too much anymore because even he has said lateral movement is causing me problems. So they need, meaning the Bills, offensive line, need to shore up and keep Allen protected, or that's it.
And by the way, they're going to have to win 3 road games,
And it is not easy to do.
or at least at least 2 road games, depending on what seed they get.
Well, yeah, actually, after the final seeding, let's put it this way: they're not playing home week one, so
They will not be at home,
right, they'll
and
be
they are
away.
on their
So,
hands and knees hoping that the Steelers win that game tonight.
yep.
Speaking of, all right, let's get into the Steelers Ravens
Here we go.
because this is the only game we're covering. This is the only game we're
Yep.
covering. We'll be live later tonight for it, but
Yep.
this is the only game we're going to talk about because it's the only game with any substance and any meaning. So we can spend as much time as we want on it.
Yes, we can.
So news on both sides. Lamar will go tonight. He'll wear a flap jacket. TJ Watt also returns this year's off of his lung injury. So both teams are as at least as healthy as they could possibly be. And look, they played a couple of weeks ago. It was a tight game. The Isaiah Likely play was a big factor in that game.
Hmm.
But now, Mark, the Steelers are coming off a game where they scored 6 points against the Cleveland Browns.
And not to dismay the Cleveland Browns. I mean, their defense is pretty damn good. Um, I think you have to take for it what it is. This game is going to be a trench war. Okay, this is the battle of the bulge all over again right here. This is going to be a fight. You got a former three-time NFL MVP behind the line. He's been here before. You don't have to tell him what this means. He knows. He knows the score. I think what effed everything up, and I think it's absolutely completely BS, is the suspension of DK Metcalf. He was egged on by this fan. I have read the article, I have read the court precedent, and I've also read everything. DK Metcalf should not have been suspended for what this guy said. Now, to go on the NFL side of it, the NFL had to do what it had to do. I don't think it was investigated well enough, and it would have definitely shown DK had every right, but it is in the contract. You don't put your hands on a fan. So the NFL did what it did, and not having DK Metcalf out here tonight is a big problem. It limits Aaron Rodgers. So, like last week, we saw he tried going to the guy he relied to in Green Bay, and that was Martin Valdez Scantling. And he threw two ugly passes to him in the end zone, too.
He
I
was
think,
hoping for that PI call at the end.
well, yeah, that too, but that was not going to be thrown there. I think Aaron Rodgers is going looking to this game knowing not it can be, but knowing this will be his final go.
Okay, there's a part where we agree, and there's a part where we disagree. We disagree on the DK thing because listen, whether he was egged on or not, you know who you are. You know what you are. You know the camera's going to follow you. You can't lay a hand off it. Like your stupid mistake has consequences. And it was a dumb mistake on DK's part. And he better hope that his team wins tonight. Otherwise, guess what? You know who's going to get the finger point if you don't make the playoffs and you lose tonight? DK Metcalf. It's going to be your fault if the Steelers don't win this game. Where we agree is I'm with you. I think this is Aaron Rodgers' last game. Now, that being said, I think there's a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers tonight. I think there's a lot of pressure on Mike Tomlin tonight because the Steelers should have buried the Ravens when they were 1-4 and
Yep.
didn't have Lamar Jackson. But you know what? I'm going to give the Ravens this because they could have folded. And they've had some really bad losses this year. But they didn't fold. They found their way back. And then last week, the light bulb went off in the head of John Harbaugh and Todd Monken. They're like, oh, crap. We got this Derrick Henry guy. He's really good. And you know when Derrick Henry's really good? In the cold weather.
Yep.
Because he's a load. Derrick
Just
Henry.
watching him last week, nobody could bring him down.
Yeah. You think the
When you get
Steelers are
those
going to
like
want to tackle Derrick Henry tonight? Uh-uh.
no, no.
You think they're going to want to tackle Lamar when Lamar wants to run a little bit? And I
And
think that's
that's
going
going
to
to
be a
be
big
the
key.
yeah. Just going to say that. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's going to be a big key. Lamar has not wanted to run a lot since he hurt the hamstring. They're going to
And
need
he's
him tonight to run a little bit.
the question is going to be with that back injury, what is his mobility?
Right,
Now, if anybody wants to know about a back injury, I can tell you 16 years worth of stories, but that's a story for another time. Back injuries are not easy to deal with because when you're a quarterback, even though you might not notice it, they're using every muscle in their body to make a play. And when your back is hurt, it stops every joint from working properly. So, like Mike was saying, the big key is Lamar going to run. I think he's going to be forced to run, but we're not going to see the 75-yard
right,
attempt Lamar. We'll see the I can get 2 yards into this to the sideline safely. Those are the runs you're
right.
going to see from Lamar.
He can't do the 50, 75, but he's going to have to be smart. Sliding, don't take
Yep.
unnecessary hits, go out of bounds. You know, the key to this game for Baltimore is running the ball. The Steelers have had a problem all year stopping the run. Go watch the tape of the Bills game. I plead with you to watch tape of the Bills game. On the other side of this, if you're Baltimore, this feeds right into your hands defensively with no DK because your
Oh
corners have
yes.
stunk all year. So now what you're going to do is I need to bet Calvin Austin, uh, the kid from Michigan, Roman Wilson.
Wilson. Yep.
These are the guys who are going to have to beat me on the outside. I'll take my chances with Kyle Hamilton playing up in the box.
Yeah.
You know, this is
And the,
where the Ravens defense gets a little bit of a break because there is no DK Metcalf who crushed them in the first meeting.
yeah, and there's no running game in Pittsburgh. I mean, Jalen Warren, has had 900 yards and got 6 touchdowns. I'm sorry, that's not NFL numbers.
And by the
If
way,
he was at 1,000 yards, then I would say, maybe.
and
If he goes over,
Kenneth
sorry,
Gainwell has been more of a factor out of the passing game than the running game.
correct. And I think that is more because of Aaron Rodgers because they shifted to what he likes, not what the team wanted. It's what Rodgers likes. So it was an adjustment year, really.
And the other big injury news out of Pittsburgh is no Darnell Washington, the tight end,
Yeah,
the big tight end, broke his arm.
right. You'll see a lot of Pat Fryermuth
You'll see
tonight.
a lot of Pat Fryer move and probably a lot of Johnu Smith tonight.
Yeah, and Johnny Smith, during his Tennessee years, was not a big downfield threat, but 5 yards, 7 yards, that's where he excels, and he's got good hands. And if you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, he'll be the third down look a lot if it's third and short.
Yeah, and I can tell you this: him being a former Dolphin, he's a yak machine too.
Yep, yards
So
after the carry. If you didn't know what Mike meant, he was
yards
not talking
after
about the
catch,
African. Yeah, he was not talking about the African animal.
yakety yak, don't talk back.
I usually do. Uh, But my problem is Aaron Rodgers, no matter where he's gone, has had a running stability. Even
Mm-hmm.
with the Jets, with Brees Hall, he had a guy who could easily run 70 yards a game. Aaron Rodgers isn't the guy who can drop back and pass 50 times anymore. He should be capping out at no more than 30, even at where he is. And just to give you an idea, he threw 451 passes up to this point. I had him below 400 on the year.
Yeah. Well, listen, they have an interesting situation there in Pittsburgh. They're gonna have to figure this thing out. But look, this is a game. It's the best rivalry in football right now. Actually, second best rivalry in football. Take my one shot, Dan. The Jets and relevance are the only other rivalry worth mentioning. So look, it all comes down to this. I usually don't ask this on the sideline report, but I'll ask this: who you got? Who you like tonight?
I like the Baltimore Ravens, and I like Zay Flowers to go off on a good night.
I like the Ravens too. I think Derrick Henry is going to be a load tonight. I believe it's his birthday because I saw something about him playing well on his birthday. So if it
Happy
is your
birthday,
birthday,
Derek.
Derrick Henry, happy birthday.
Not a sponsor. You know, if the NFL this season has had its highs and had its lows. And if we want to talk about one of the middle lows, let's talk the Dallas Cowboys quickly because we all know what the Dallas Cowboys are. The Dallas Cowboys, I knew, not going to say we knew, I knew going into this season their defense was going to be abysmal. And that was because I said the moment Dan Quinn left, this defense falls apart. What happens? Dexter Lawrence leaves. They trade Micah Parsons. Trayvon Diggs now is with the Packers, which, by the way, was a great pickup for the Packers if it was 2 years ago. He's not the same he was. That knee hasn't healed. Will he give them much needed help? Yes. Will he make somewhat of a difference? Probably, but is he the 11 interception guy he was a few years ago? No. The Dallas Cowboys rebuilt the defense piece by piece at the trade deadline and getting a couple free agents such as Clowney. Uh, Trade deadline got Quinion Williams and got Logan Wilson. And then once that happened, this Dallas defense started playing better. Dallas plays the New York Giants today. Nobody gives a shit about the game because there's no way the Giants want to win this game and make their draft picks drop. Yes.
Uh, some of us do give a shit. Some of us took the game and the Cowboys plus the 4.5.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Giants don't care. The Giants could get blown out today. They're not going to care.
Yeah.
The Giants want to keep the draft position they're at. I was surprised they beat the Raiders last week, thinking they would just lose out and have the number one pick and then be able to use that as big leverage. But hey, what do I know about football?
Listen, no one's tanking harder than the Raiders, though. The Raiders are
Oh,
like, yeah, no, we're gonna lose this game more than you want to lose this game.
right. So for Dallas going into next season, key priority will be they will tag George Pickens. It's already known, and then they will be working out a huge extension for him. They are restructuring all top five contracts, everything from Dak to CD Lamb, to free up cap money because they need to rebuild the offensive line and they need to rebuild that defense. They got two picks in the first round. I expect one of them to be used on an offensive line. And if they don't keep Javante Williams, and if you don't keep him, I'll kill you. They better go get a running back.
Well, I would
But
think he would want to stay just based on the
uh,
year.
well, and last but not least, Jadon Blue will start as the number one running back to get his one game in the season as Javante Williams went on IR with his shoulder and Malik Davis went on IR after getting poked in the eye after last game. So Jadon Blue will be the number one running back for Dallas, and we'll see what he's like against a Giants defense where nine of the starters are supposedly out. So we'll see.
All right, if we're gonna do quick soliloquies on our
Yeah.
teams, I'll go in on the Dolphins for a second. Um, Tough year, disappointing year, as per usual, but also a little bit of a proud year. And when I use the term proud, I'm proud for two reasons. One is this team could have folded and looked like crap the rest of the year. Well, no, they fought and they got themselves onto the in the hunt graphic on your television screens. So you got to give them a little bit of credit for that. I'm also proud because they showed some balls. And by that I mean they benched the $200 million man into a Tagovailoa. And as we go forward into the offseason, I don't think the future includes Tua Tagovailoa. He will not be a Miami Dolphin next year, whether he's retired, traded, cut. He's not going to be a part of the organization anymore. Mike McDaniel, stay, go. Um, I'm okay with him staying. I don't love him in game, but I also wouldn't mind seeing Mike McDaniel with a different quarterback and seeing how we can evaluate from that. Mark's friend Troy Aikman is helping in the GM search for some reason.
When you need the help, you go to the best.
To quote Tina Turner, simply the best. This
I happen to
also,
think it's a very bright move, by the way.
I do. Listen, who does more interviews with organizations than broadcasters? So you go to a guy who's been a broadcaster for the last 20, 30 years or whatever it is.
I'm not that old, Mike.
No,
15 years. Aikman's only been out in, 15 years.
I thought it's been longer. I forget. You know what? You forget how long he played because of the concussions.
True.
So, look, he's been around forever. Troy Aikman been around the game as a broadcaster player, so he's done all these interviews. I have no problems with that. From what I've read, they want a guy who's big in player development. I think that is the smartest way to go because free agency has never worked for the Dolphins. Just look at what Ndamukong Suh did as a Dolphin. Then comes the next question. If it's not Tua Tagovailoa, who's the quarterback? Well, I don't have interest in spending a top 10 pick on a quarterback this year. I don't have an interest in that. I have interest in guys who will go later in the draft. My guy Garrett Nussmeyer, hint, hint. So you're going to need a stopgap quarterback this year for next year. So whether that be Mark's hero, Kirk Cousins,
Kirk Cousins to the Jets.
or somebody else, they're going to need a veteran guy to lead it. Guys like Jalen Waddle are going to stay around. They can't trade Waddle, even though there were rumors at the deadline. They're going to figure out the GM spot. Look, I think now is actually a good time to do a little mini rebuild anyway. Because in the next 2 years, you're not going to be better than Josh Allen and the Bills. And now you see what Drake May and Mike Vrabel are starting to build in New England. You can go into that a little bit more by resetting a little bit. I have no problems with that. Do I have a playoff mandate for next year? No. But I'll say this, and I'm going to end it here. If Mike McDaniel is fired, the two names I would want Pete Carroll. I would want John Harbaugh. I want a team that is going to work their ass off and prove they deserve to be amongst the best.
I agree.
That's what I want. Okay. So, two other things before we go. Mark, you wanted to do a little parlay for today.
So, as we are getting more and more towards together, working on with a couple of companies, how to go about picking your Sunday parlay today? Well, we
None of
basically,
this is sponsored.
that's why I didn't mention any names. I just
No, I know,
said,
I know. I just
yeah,
wanted to get it out there for Patch.
yeah.
If he's listening.
If he's listening, yes, in the middle of slicing up that calamari. Um, if you're looking at a parlay for today and you listen to what Mike and I have said, great candy, by the way, not a sponsor, but if you look at what Mike and I said, look at those games that mean something. You cannot go into a parlay against a game with a team that absolutely means nothing because you don't know necessarily who is starting, who is not starting, how many touches that they're going to get. The Baltimore Ravens Pittsburgh game, you know who you can put your reliance on because all of them are going to play out. That Atlanta Saint game. There's a game to build a nice parlay on. Just don't use Alvin Kamara in any of it. Play it smart. Play only any games that have a meaning. Otherwise, if you try to go these long runs like 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, and you're picking teams like Dallas and you're picking teams like, oh God, who else? Just want to give a bad, not a bad name. Ouch, I hurt myself. You're taking teams like Dallas, you take a team like Cincy, take a team like Green Bay. Those aren't the teams you want to take as they're playing for nothing, so you don't know who's really going to be focused on. The second tip is if there's a game that has a player high profile that needs only whether it's 3 receptions to get $150,000, you can key on that. Do not go all in on the win loss or the over under today. You will be disappointed. That is just parlay tips from the old ops guy.
Yeah, and speaking of Green Bay, Clayton Tune is starting at quarterback, so be very, very careful of Green Bay.
Right. Only take games that have a dog in it to fight. And I hate using that phrase too.
Dogfight, yeah. You know who loves that
Yeah.
phrase? Michael Vick.
Yeah. Come on, Mike. Come on over. I have a great dog who wants to meet you.
Do you know he's coaching college ball now?
I read that in what do you call it? SI had a small article on it.
Yeah, he's coaching, I believe, at Norfolk State.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Love
so
it.
congrats to him.
Mhm.
All right, let's end it the way we end every Sunday. Fantasy player of the day, even though most fantasy seasons are over.
Mine's gonna come from a game that means nothing. I think today is the game you're gonna see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase hook up for 200 yards. Give me Jamar Chase 200 yards and a touchdown today.
Against Cleveland. I'm gonna take your advice. Go to a game that matters. I'm gonna go Jawan Johnson of the New Orleans Saints. No
Good
Chris
tight end.
Olave today.
Right.
So I believe no Kamara again, but we'll wait and see on that. But the Saints have been playing so well recently.
And it's something to watch and build on, but I don't think Tyler Shook is the answer.
You know what? No, but you know what he did do? He earned himself the gig next year.
In all fairness to you, yes, kind of like Shadur in this way.
Yeah,
If Deshaun
100%.
Watson cannot go for any reason, there is no reason Shadur's name is not number one for next season.
Well, we'll have to see what Cleveland's going to do with the Deshaun Watson money then.
Right.
That's a whole nother
That's a
story.
whole nother bag of cats we don't want to deal with.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of the Sunday Sideline Report here on the SAN YouTube channel. Check us out every week. We'll be back next week for Sunday. We will converse. Maybe somebody will preview the Saturday games as well.
We'll get it done. We'll get it done.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably since there's no Thursday night gridiron, that's what we'll set up to do. So tune in Thursday night for previews of the Saturday game.
Like, comment, subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Go to the website, thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Follow us on the socials. Facebook, the Sports Insanity Network. Twitter, S Insanity Real. Yeah.
Just to let all you 101 fans know, Tuesday night, Joe Knapp from Hattrick Breaks will be joining us for a very special one of one. We have pulled one of the rarest National Treasure rookie cards of the man I just mentioned, Shadur Sanders. The National Treasure Big 12 patch 101 autograph. We will have Joe Knapp from Hattrick Breaks, Iowa LLC on the show talking about the card, and also we at the Sports Identity Network will be getting a live article done with a sport company in by April regarding this card. So look closely. Stay tuned to SIN.
Shout out to Joe Knapp and Hattrick Breaks, as well as Top Notch Sports.
And Anthony Laparo and Justin Valentini.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Again, we will probably do the Saturday previews for Thursday Night Gridiron, but we'll also be back Sunday, preview the Sunday games as we get into the NFL playoffs.
Playoffs. But Mike, you know what happens after the NFL playoffs and the Super Bowl?
The Olympics.
Yeah. I was going baseball, but yeah, the Olympics. Mike will be covering the diving on ice sequence this year.
Listen, there should be a breakaway coming out soon. Olympic rosters. If it sounds nasally, I was fighting a cold while doing it.
All
If
right,
that's not
everybody.
dedication, I don't know what is. Everyone,
Mike's the hardest on this network.
listen,
Mike's the number one.
listen. Thanks everyone for listening and checking us out. Again, we do a lot of coverage on everything. So check out all the podcasts. Check out the YouTube page, like, comment, subscribe. Um, Tell Nate Moser the Bills aren't going to win the Super Bowl. And
You don't want to be the one to tell them that.
and again, let's make 2026 our biggest year yet.